Wonderful, wonderful, my lovely people, my sweet, beautiful, great people. A pleasant evening to everybody. No, this we see what is happening, during this inclement weather. This thing moved from a storm to category 1 hurricane to category 5, I'm told. I don't know if it's 4 or 5, but boy, we're certainly in for a treat if this thing really hits us direct, so I'm hoping that everyone will try and stay safe. You hear the government officials coming out and telling people, if you know that you live in low-lying and flood-prone areas, it is best to get to shelters, so that if anything should happen, that you don't get up and blame. Well, they didn't say this, but I'm saying this to you, that you don't get up and blame government, to say that they did nothing, you were not warned, you were not advised. Even yesterday I heard the Prime Minister speaking to say we've, issued out a warning, do not stay in certain places, flood prone like the gully banks and, certain low-lying areas where it can be flooded out. Because if you do, then the consequences will follow, so to speak. Not consequences from them, but the consequences of the natural disaster. And you don't want a hurricane to create problems and wreak havoc, because it can be loss of lives, not just loss of property. And that can be very devastating. So people have to, use wisdom. And if they know that where they live, is flood prone or low lines and can be flooded out and blown away and whatnot, you have to take the necessary precaution. And this is especially if you have children. You have to do everything to safeguard them, to protect them, to keep them intact. So if there is no family member or friend that can accommodate you, you have the different shelters. I see people, WhatsApping me and sending me a lot of these shelter places. So I'm assuming that it is going around. So really no one should have an excuse. No one should have an excuse, because sometimes you come and you hear they complain and they grumble and, huff and puff and blow the house down to say that the government this and the government that, when they have issued out warnings repeatedly, And I was listening to the meteorologist there, Mr. Thompson, and he, when he has laid down what the seriousness of this hurricane. So apart from God thwarting it and let it just dissipate, we don't want it to go elsewhere. Sometimes when you're producing, Lord, make it go else, we don't want it to hit our neighbors. We want it to just dissipate. But if it doesn't, then we just have to prepare, because sometimes challenges come and we just have to ride through the storm. So I'm hoping that people will take their necessary precaution. As I said, it has been issued by the government and so forth. And I'm sure that for those who, may be impoverished, indigent, those who, may not have food items and all of that, people have assisted and they will assist, in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. So guys, be safe. We pray for the best and that God's will be done and that we will be safe and we will carry on. All right, guys, you know what to do. We're TikTok and YouTube. Subscribe. Give me one of those lions. Have a good one. Stay safe.